She's working diligently. So, Leanne, we have no mics? Is that correct? I will speak loudly then.
We have no mics?
Yours are on?
Come on down.
Well, I have a green light, but nothing. Are you sure? Feels like I've got a mic. Does the hand mic work? Does this work? No, nothing's working. Okay. Well, we'll speak loudly until Bill gets us figured out here, but welcome. Thank you for coming with us this evening, and please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Never mind the mic. Again, thank you for joining us, and we will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Hinson.
Thank you, Mrs. Ely. I have a few things for you tonight, and since we had a computer crash, but we are able to pull this up tonight. So great things are happening in the Shawnee Mission School District. Some things that we'll share with you. The first picture tonight, Apache, Tomahawk, Cocker Grove, and West Ridge Middle Schools were selected as the 2014 National and International Promising Practice Award winners. They are honored for their demonstration of successful, unique ways for reinforcing character traits in K-12 students. They are all invited to be recognized in Washington, D.C. this fall. They asked for a board representative to go with them. Just kidding about that. So congratulations to these 4 schools, and again, they have been invited to D.C. this fall. We are also pleased this week, it's going on as we speak, in the Shawnee Mission School District to join in hosting this year's National Speech and Debate Tournament. More than 4,000 students from across the United States are competing in speech, drama, and debate events right here in our own great city of Overland Park. So we're happy to host these talented 4,000 students. 10 of the students are our own from the Shawnee Mission School District who qualified for this national competition. So again, it's great to welcome 4,000 students from across the country to this event going on right here. More than half of the awards given in the Jostens Adobe Design Contest were presented to Shawnee Mission students, Shawnee Mission East and Shawnee Mission North journalism students who are recognized for their yearbook work. Andrew Nevins, a Shawnee Mission North student, received the competition grand prize. Dal Tate advises students at Shawnee Mission East, and Becky Tate advises students at Shawnee Mission North. We congratulate the students and certainly their instructors as well on a job very well done. And even though it is summer break, and even though we have 4,000 students from outside of the district, we have other students that are still in school learning as well. The district is offering learning opportunities for high school students through Summer Academy. Younger students are exploring and discovering new learning through summer enrichment. Students are discovering new interests and participating in hands-on activities such as music, cooking, computer, science, sports, debate, just to name a few. Enrollment is still open if anybody is interested, and you can certainly find out this information, a lot of information, through the website of the Shawnee Mission School District. But on July 8, the district will offer a Jump Start program at Comanche, Overland Park, and Shawano, and the goal is to provide incoming kindergarten students a jump start in relation to a solid foundation to start their kindergarten experience with us. The focus of Jump Start is on reading, math, and social competencies. And as you can see, the summer lunch bunch is open to all children ages 1 through 18. And it's open at 11:30 a.m. Monday through Friday at Broken Arrow, Comanche, East Antioch, Santa Fe Trail, Overland Park, and Shawano Elementary Schools, and Hawker Grove Middle School. This program helps make sure that each child has food available to eat during summer months. And I'm pleased to say that we have served 5,700 meals so far this summer. There is not a cost for the children to be a part of this program. It is funded through the United States Department of Agriculture. So it's a U.S. Ag program. So those are just a few of the highlights of some of the things that are going on right now in the Shawnee Mission School District. And it's always interesting because people think when the regular school year is over that, you know, nothing happens in the summer. That is not the truth at all. And so many exciting things are going on. Speaking of exciting things, as you are keenly aware, we have had a survey in process. Patron Insight has been performing the survey. They just compiled the results and finalized today. So I have asked Mr. Ken DeSeegard to join us tonight just for a few minutes to give you, okay, here's a snapshot. Again, it just came in today. Ken's going to come back July 1st to the board meeting. We're going to spend a whole lot more time. But since we just finalized it today, I wanted Ken to come for a few minutes and tell us what information that we've gleaned thus far. But again, July 1st, a much more in-depth. We've had a chance to digest, so this was just finalized. It's right off the press today.
It's warm, but it's outside. It's warm too. So, but yes, they delivered at 2:00 this afternoon. So, well, thank you, Dr. Hinson. Good evening, everyone. As a proud 1977 Shawnee Mission West Viking, I never expected to be standing here, and it's really great to have the chance to do so. I will spend a few minutes today going over the report kind of at a 5,000-foot level, because you have a lot of dead trees here in front of you, a lot of numbers to look at. But I want to draw your attention to some of the key information. Let's start with some housekeeping. We spoke to 500 randomly selected head of household registered voters, divided 100 per high school drawing area. And so if you look at the numbers in the report as you're looking at it at your leisure, and you look at the results that are for the entire survey group of 500, that has a margin of error of 5%. So as you're looking at trying to figure out a range, add and subtract 5% to sort of give you the idea, of where people stand on a particular issue. If you're looking at the landscape, the sideways pages, that has a larger margin of error because the subgroups there are smaller. Okay, so just as a kind of a point of order there. And as you look at those sideways pages, please also be aware that you should be looking for trends in the report. You'll see we talk about trends as opposed to individual numbers, because that margin of error is so much larger when we get down to 18 to 34-year-olds and female respondents versus males. So we started the exercise by asking people to grade the district. I will ask you to turn to, and for the benefit of the folks in the audience, turn to page 12. We asked people to grade the district A, B, C, D, or F on these following factors. To simplify things, we do a 5-point weighted scale, and I promise not to get too nerdy here, but we do a little 5-point weighted scale so that you're not looking at all the A's and the B's and the C's and trying to figure out, well, what's doing better than the others. If you look at that chart, you can see that at the top of the list, 5 would be an A. We've been doing this for 22 years. No one has gotten an A. And that's because everyone would have to say A. And that just doesn't happen. There's always somebody out there that thinks you could do better. So anything above a 4 is considered a B, 4 or higher. And technically, when you figure in the margin of error, it's 3.8. But you can see the things at the top of the list: quality of education, facilities, preparation of students for college, career, vocational training, safety and security, and overall grades. So the bold-faced ones are the ones that were at least 81% of the individuals said, I feel like I know enough to offer a grade. We call those our hot buttons, and those are the issues that people think of first from this list as they are thinking about the school district. We then had a couple of, or three actually, well, we transitioned into strengths and weaknesses of the district, or strengths and areas needing improvement. If you look on 16, this is open-ended, and you can see teachers, curriculum, reputation of the district, and high graduation rate were items that were named independently. In other words, we didn't present folks a list, but we said, what do you think are the strengths of the district? Those are the ones that really stood out to folks. On 18, the areas where the district can improve, it's always encouraging when the number one answer there is, I don't know, because it means that people aren't sitting around thinking over and over and over again, I wish the district would do something about X. Now you can see managed money is better. I jokingly say we could get a stamp made that says managed money is better and just put it in every report. That's kind of a common expression that we have heard for the last 5 or 6 years. You can always be managing money better, sort of like you can always do better in the grading area. So not something that really stood out. The don't know being number one really did. One of our 3 trial balloons, really very quickly here. Our first trial balloon was, do you have any programs or courses you wish were offered in the district? This is on 21 that aren't. 286 said, I don't know of any. 61, life learning and practical skills. and 59 folks said sports in middle school. Again, a common refrain when a district has had to make that decision. Signature program, we ask about whether a cross-section of people think that the signature programs in the individual schools is the best way to go, or bringing them to a central site. This is on 24. And you will see among the 500 folks, 54% said they wanted to stay with the current approach. 39% said central site. That's fairly close, but it's also fairly definitive. We had more than half who said, nah, I kind of like things the way they are. On page 26, you'll see the question about potentially changing middle school to a different grade configuration. It's a little bit more distance there in terms of, no, I'd like to leave it as it is, with 59%, and 23% saying, no, I'd like to change it to 6th through 8th grades. So a little more distance there, a little bit more certainty in the folks thinking on that. And the final kind of trial balloon was the fee structure situation. This is on 29. Gave them 3 options: stay with the current fee structure, provide a discount on fees for families with multiple school-age children, or eliminate the mandatory fees but keep fees for the optional items. And you can see that by a decent percentage, eliminating the mandatory fees but keeping it for the optional was the number one choice. Not a majority, but it was the number 1 out of 3 with 42%. So then, and I think for speed's sake, if you will turn to page 36, please, we presented folks with a series of potential ideas for a potential bond issue. And we gave a very brief description of each one. And we said, if this appeared in a future bond issue, would you be more likely to vote in favor, against, or would it make no difference to you? On the left side, and these are, as we use the big word truncated, these are shortened versions of the descriptions. You will see the items that are at the top of that list that really were very popular, and that is things like upgrading the safety and security systems, improving energy efficiency, both of which are kind of home run items usually for school districts these days. Rebuilding the older district elementary schools at 56%, saying if you put that in a bond issue, I'm going to be more likely to vote in favor. And you can see that it trails down, the aquatic center being a little bit less popular than the rest. So we said, okay, kind of the final section is if the district came back to you with a bond issue with some of the ideas that you thought from this list that you thought were a good idea. If you'll turn to page 40, we said, how would you vote if the election were held today, this mythical election, if it was held today? We combined strongly favor and favor because those are the folks that, as of the time this survey was completed, are in the camp of saying, yes, I think this is a good idea. And you can see we're at 65%. Very good score, particularly when you take into account that margin of error. That means, again, at the time the survey was taken, it's as low as 60, but nowhere near in the 40s, and as high maybe as 70. The best news about this all is if you go to the question just below that, same page, we said, all right, well, what if that bond issue ended up costing a typical homeowner, $200,000 home, $90 more a year in taxes? We're at 69%. We jokingly call that the Hugh factor, like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. When we go up, now, statistically speaking, we didn't go up, but we also didn't go down. I think it has only gone up, even if it wasn't, wide enough to be statistically reliable or statistically significant. It's only gone up 4 times in 22 years. You would be the 4th. So that means good ideas and sensible price tag. The folks that said no or I'm not sure, we said, all right, well, what about $60 a year? Moved to 71%, next page. Those folks who were still undecided or who were against, we said, what about $30 a year? Again, just trying to see where's that line? What's kind of folks' tolerance? And we moved all the way up to 73%. So we did see some notable movement from the top, the $90 to the $30, but it's all good news. That's the way we looked at it. It's all good news. The last section has to do with where people get their information. So it starts on 45. We presented them 20 different sources of district news and said, where do you get your information? And that's information that is not weather-related school closing information. And friends and neighbors, number 1. It's now 4 times, I think, that it hasn't been number 1 in 22 years. People will turn to their neighbor Bob before they will look to the district or look to the newspaper, but that's okay, as long as they're engaged. And as you can see, they're very engaged. They read the newsletter. Very good score for the newsletter at 63%. Teachers, very important. The website, very important. We kind of draw a line at 25% and say these are the items that, or these are the outlets that are more important than others, and you had 8 of those. So that says there's interest, there's engagement, and people do talk. If 79% say, I go to my neighbor to find out what's going on in the school district. The rest of this is demographic information, which you can look at your leisure. The one that isn't in a big book is the online study. Online studies should always be looked at as supplemental information because folks make the decision to participate. They're self-selected as opposed to randomly selected. But if you look through this, you will see that there's a lot of common beliefs among staff members and among community members. We had more than 1,000 staff members who took part, and we had almost 600 community members who took part. Because we want the district to be able to say, we want to hear from everyone. Not everyone's going to get called, so you have the opportunity and people to take that opportunity. We have a lot of districts that would trade with you for 1,000 staff members to participate in something like this. Shows engagement, it really does. So it's always dangerous to not have a clock right there when I'm talking, but are there any questions? And again, we will be back to roll up our sleeves on the 1st of July.
Any questions? Guess not. Lots to digest.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Ken.
you
Appreciate it
very
very
much.
much.
Were you still continuing, or is
No,
that
ma'am.
the end of your report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mrs. Wintering, do we have anyone for open forum? We do not tonight. Okay. Okay, we will move on to approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of May 28th.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Levin. Speak
Second.
loudly. I don't think
Oh,
we have
sorry.
mics
So
yet.
moved. Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Goodburn. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. For the special meeting of June 13th.
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Denny.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Bisfield. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. Move on to the adoption of the agenda. Mrs. Mack.
I would move for the adoption of the agenda as listed, with the exception of items N, 3, and 4 to be tabled to the July 1st, 2014 meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Bisfield. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. Approval of routine business by consent. Is there any item that any board member would like removed from the consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Thank you, Mrs. Goodburn.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Denny. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. That moves us forward to action items. N. Dr. Hinson.
We have, number 1, the appeal of liquidated damages. My recommendation is that we waive the penalty for liquidated damages on number 1, please.
Okay.
Move approval of N1.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Bisfield and Mrs. Neighbor. Is there any discussion or question? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. And 2, Dr. Hinson.
Item number 2 in the same regard, and you are keenly aware of this, but when there are circumstances beyond an employee's control where they have to resign, and many times it's in relation to either a spouse being transferred, a different employment opportunity for their spouse, a health issue, those types of issues. Not that they want to just go leave and go to another school district, if you will. But we try to work with them in both of these tonight, including number 2. These are issues that are simply beyond their control, and so therefore my recommendation on N2 is to approve the resignation, but without imposition of the $1,000 resignation penalty, please.
Very good.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs.
Second.
Mack. Thank you, Mrs. Goodburn. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. Move on to O, P. Dr. Hinson.
On P1, we have the benefit lines of coverage, the renewal rates. I'm going to ask Mr. DePiero to address this issue tonight, please.
There's no mic, Bill.
July 1. Those
Okay,
are, those are
I'm out in
tabled.
space, okay. The agenda item you have in front of you is the approval of our lines of coverage for our insurance benefits for employees for the 2014-15 school year. This includes our dental program, our basic life, our short-term disability, and our FSA program. It also includes the medical coverage program, which is remaining with Blue Cross. There has been no plan design changes proposed for next year. The plan design remains consistent with what it is this year. The premiums have increased from $578 to $617 for the HMO and PPO, and from $423 to $451 for the HSA, high deductible health plan. The district contribution remains at $533, and so that means the employees' contribution to their health insurance program has increased slightly, and the amount that the district contributes to the HSA for the high deductible health plan has gone down a little bit. I can answer any questions, and there's CBIZ representatives here also, if there's any questions concerning any of the lines of coverage.
Are there any questions? Okay. Then I would entertain a motion for the approval of the 2015 benefit lines.
Move approval of P1.
Thank you, Mrs. Neighbor.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Goodburn. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0.
And
Move on
Mrs.
to
Zila, if I may
P2.
point out, Mr.
Yes.
Vigliaturo, Mr. Johnson are in the audience. They're our CBIZ representatives. And so thanks for being here, but you didn't have any tough questions for them tonight,
Nope,
so they
no
got off
questions.
pretty free. So thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you for attending tonight. We will move on to P2, approval of lobbyist contract. Dr. Hinson.
My recommendation is that we approve the contract for the 14-15 year with Stuart Little for government relations consultant. The contract amount has not increased, and so Mr. Little is in, actually Dr. Little is in the audience with us tonight. Stuart really did a fabulous job for us this year, and so I wouldn't necessarily describe it as a fun legislative session. But Stuart was very busy and sent a lot of information to me late at night and on the weekends. And, you know, Stuart, in front of the board, I want to compliment you. You really did a great job for us this year. So my recommendation to you tonight is that we contract with Dr. Little for this coming year as well.
Very good.
Move approval.
Thank you,
Second.
Dr. Denny and Mrs. Levens. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, oh, Mrs. Levens.
I would just like to second Dr. Hinson's comments.
Speak loudly, no mics.
Sorry, I would like to second Dr. Hinson's comments, and I'm sure the rest of the board concurs. We truly
Absolutely.
appreciate the efforts this year.
It was Herculean, I think, this year, Dr. Little. So thank you again for all of the updates that you sent us. They were lengthy and very well detailed. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. Move on to Q. Mrs. Goodburn.
I move that the Board of Education recess to executive session in order to discuss matters relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student. The meeting will reconvene at
How long do you think we need? 15 minutes? 7:40?
7:40? Okay. No further business will be conducted following the executive session.
Okay.
Second?
No, that's not correct.
That's not correct.
We have business.
We will be back.
Sorry,
yes.
we will be back.
Yes, we will.
That's-
Who was the second here? Mrs. Mack. Okay, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. And Dr. Hinson, will you join us, please?
I've got them right here.
Anybody is saying we started too early. Okay, okay, very good. It is 7:40. We will resume our meeting here, and we will address action Q1, the consideration of a student appeal.
Madam President, I move that we uphold the expulsion of student E14-1.
Thank you, Mrs. Neighbor.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Mack. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. The consideration of appeal of student expulsion E14-2.
Madam President, I move that we uphold the expulsion of student E14-2.
Second. Thank you, Mrs. Mack. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. We will move on to the board financial report. Dr. Hinson.
We'll certainly be happy to entertain any questions. There isn't anything unusual or out of the ordinary on this month's financial report, which is always a great thing.
It always is good, that's right. Any questions? Okay, very good. Then we'll move on to board comments. Mrs. Lovins.
We had, Deb Zeeland and I had the pleasure of attending the National Teacher Hall of Fame induction ceremony in Emporia, Kansas on Friday evening. We were in the company of 5 teachers nominated, or not only nominated, but inducted into the Hall of Fame. They were 2 from Kansas, others from around the country. We had the opportunity to meet them, to hear their addresses, very inspiring people. Our own Jan Alderson from Shawnee Mission South was among those inducted. She was definitely overwhelmed and honored to be a part of that ceremony. We were very proud and honored to be there with her Friday evening. So we want to give our congratulations to Mrs. Alderson and to all of the other 4 teachers who were also inducted. It was a wonderful evening to be in a room full of Kansans from all over the state who were honoring their educators. So
It's a great
the
evening.
best to them.
It was. Anyone else? Okay, then our meeting stands adjourned. Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, I have to tell you the most incredible story.